Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys checking out today's video and hanging out with me for a little bit. And guys, today I want to talk about something that I don't know if a lot of people are aware of that's going on, and that is the fact that the growing number of anglers that have reached out to me personally and have talked to other people about it that are plotting their departure from professional fishing. Now, these are not just old dudes. These are guys that a lot of them are in their prime right now, and they see the writing on the wall and they're trying to get out of it. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that as far as how we got to this point and what the situation is, and maybe what we can do moving forward to to stop the bleeding before it's too late. Also, guys, before we get started, just a quick invitation. Just like to invite everybody to please consider hitting that subscribe button here at Intuitive Angling. We've had some really good growth over the last month or so on the channel. We're really working hard to get to 150,000 subscribers, and hitting that subscribe button is a good way to support the channel. It's free and easy, so really appreciate that, guys, for people who have done that. Okay, here's what I want to talk about, guys. Like I said, this is something that's sort of off the radar because it's sort of something with inside the industry, but we've seen a handful of pros out there that have retired from the sport for various reasons over the past 6 months. But guys, I've had quite a few anglers reach out to me that I've known for years, and even some anglers out there that I don't really know all that well that have reached out to me as well. And a lot of them are interested in trying to get more involved in social media and YouTube and that type of stuff. But the main thing is they are wanting out of the sport. They are wanting to get out of professional fishing, and there's several different reasons for this that I want to talk about here today. And it's something that the tournament organizations really need to be aware of, because this is something that's never happened before. It's like, ever since I've been fishing professionally, it's like people, they appreciate and they're grateful and they just can't wait to get to the next tournament, and they're excited about the future. It's not like that anymore, guys. The tournament environment right now is the most toxic I have ever seen in my life. And we all know why that is for the most part. It's forward-facing sonar, some other things as well. But let's talk a little bit about why you have these anglers just over the past year trying to figure out how to do something else to make a living. Okay, number one is the fact that it is more difficult right now than it's ever been to make a living as a professional angler. The reason is the sponsorships are not there like they used to be. They're simply not there. And on top of that, it's like when you have an environment, when you reach the top level in fishing, in the past, it was sort of a given that you had assistance. You had some very meaningful, compensation in order, for you to do that. And it was pretty much the norm within the fishing industry when you got to the top levels of the sport that you could at least gain enough sponsorship to completely cover your expenses in fishing, your entry fees, your lodging, your fuel, everything, where your tournament winnings were your profit. And if you could do that back before they cut the payout so much, you could make a pretty good living at it. You could just completely rely on your tournament winnings, and there was enough money in tournaments that if you were a decent angler, you could make a solid living in fishing. You can't do that anymore. And here's a couple things that's happened. A lot of this started in 2008. When we had the big recession in 2008 and the stock market crashed, the marketing budgets for every company that sponsored anglers were slashed down to nothing, and everybody, including myself, lost between 50 to 100% of their sponsorship revenue. I'm talking everybody. That's just the first thing they cut. Now, once the economy started recovering, about the time Barack Obama took over as president in his first term, everything started turning around, but the tournament sponsorships never returned to the pre-2008 levels because they didn't have to. If you told somebody, okay, we're going to cut your compensation by 50% because of the economy, and then all of a sudden 2 years later the economy gets back to where it was, it's grown, it's strong, and they'd have there's no incentive for them to go back to where it was before because you're willing to take something lesser, and they know that. So that's one of the things, that the impetus that caused the issue that we have right now. The second with that is the fact that a lot of these guys are getting out because it is so difficult to get any type of meaningful sponsorships because there's too many tournament fishermen. There are more tournaments and more tournament fishermen than there's ever been, and it's next to impossible to stand out. It really is. Unless you're somebody like Jacob Wheeler, you get lost in the crowd. Yeah, you may hit a lick or two or have a really good season, but nobody can keep it up. I mean, there's only 2 or 3 anglers that can keep up their consistent performance year after year. So from that standpoint, there was no safety net with that. So on top of that, when you take the fact that, the sponsorships are next to impossible to get, and then the transition that the industry has gone away from tournament performance. Tournament performance is no longer awarded anymore. I can tell you right now, guys, companies do not care about how good a fisherman is. They want a tournament angler to be, number one, a social media influencer. And just like I've heard several sponsors say, they'll say this to pro anglers, you are not a professional angler. You are simply a social media influencer that just happens to fish. Because from a marketing perspective, somebody with a strong social media following will outperform, 1,000 times somebody that is not strong in social media, even if they're a better angler. So when you talk about generating impressions and growing somebody's brand awareness within a company, a professional fisherman, I don't care if you win the classic or whatever, you simply can't compete with somebody that's got a big social media following. And a lot of these guys don't want to play that game. I don't blame them. It's like social media is not for everybody. So when you have an angler that is a really good, solid angler, and they're struggling and they can't make a living in fishing and they don't want to have to spend their time on social media, that's when these guys are wanting to get out of the sport, and that's what's happening. And on top of that, the payouts suck. They're at an all-time low. Tournament payouts versus the expenses that it takes to fish tournaments have never been worse. The income disparity between the two is greater than it's ever been in the history of sport. And finally, there's 2 other elements. Number one, you can't deny the forward-facing sonar. A lot of these guys simply don't want to deal with it. They may not talk about it, and they may, not, make a big wave about it, but they don't like it. The majority of professional anglers would be okay if it was banned. I'm guessing 75% of the pros out there would be completely okay if Bassmaster and MLF said, we're banning forward-facing sonar. You'd have 25% of the people out there go into a full-blown hissy fit panic because they don't know how to catch bass without forward-facing sonar. That's their game. So 75% of those anglers would be okay with it. So we all know that the tournament organizations have been bought and paid for by the electronic companies, so we don't see that happening anytime soon. And finally, guys, it's the fact that tournament fishing is turning into a financial elitist sport. It's a financial elitist sport. The only people that can stay in fishing right now, since the payouts suck and the sponsorships suck and everything is so hard in tournament fishing, the only people that can survive are the people that are independently wealthy. That's why you see so many young anglers out there that have come from affluent families that have the safety net. They don't need sponsors. They don't need the winnings. We have slowly transitioned the sport from a working man sport where people worked their butt off and had to go home and work a job to fish the tournaments, to fish the Bassmaster circuit, to guys out there that are 20 years old driving around in a $200,000 truck or rig, truck and boat, brand new, better than ones I have, and spending $100,000 a year fishing tournaments. So it's become a financial elitist sport. And a lot of these guys that are doing what I'm talking about now, that are wanting to exit the sport, they see that. So this is a real tragedy, guys. You're basically seeing people that are giving up on their dreams and giving up on the things they've worked for and giving up on the fact that they've worked decades to hone their skills, and they're getting out of the sport because, they've been throwing all these variables that they have no control over. So I don't know if we're going to recover from it, guys. I don't. This is something that there's no easy fix for. There's some things that can be done. Number one, you can reduce the number of tournaments, and you can get rid of forward-facing sonar, and you can do some stuff like that. But overall, it's a compilation of a lot of different factors thrown into this mix at one time, and it's all working against the people that are not independently wealthy. That's the bottom line with it. So anyway, guys, let me know what y'all think about it. We'll talk later.